In the year 1349, when death walked openly through the villages of England, there stood an abbey on a hill known as Blackmoor. It had once been a holy place, its bells ringing every dawn and dusk, calling monks to prayer. But after the Great Plague came, the abbey was sealed, its doors chained, its name spoken only in whispers. Edric was a young scribe, trained to write records for the local lord. When the plague began to fade and lands were being reclaimed, Edric was sent to document abandoned properties. When he asked about Blackmoor Abbey, the villagers went silent. An old woman crossed herself and whispered, "The bells still ring at night." Another man said, "No hands pull the ropes, yet they ring." Edric laughed nervously, believing fear had poisoned their minds as badly as disease once had. At dusk, Edric climbed the hill. Fog clung to the ground like damp cloth, and the abbey rose from it like a grave marker. The stone walls were stained dark, marked with faded plague crosses painted by desperate hands long ago. As he pushed open the heavy wooden door, it groaned like something waking from a long sleep. Inside, the air smelled of rot and incense. Moonlight slipped through broken windows, revealing rows of wooden pews coated in dust. Edric's footsteps echoed too loudly, as if the building were listening. Somewhere deep inside the abbey, a bell rang. Slow, heavy. Midnight had come. Edric froze. The bell was above him, yet the tower stood empty, or so the villagers said. As the sound faded, he heard chanting. Low voices murmured prayers in Latin, weaving through the stone halls. He followed the sound to the chapel, where dozens of monks knelt before the altar. Relief washed over him until the monks raised their heads. Their faces were smooth and pale, with no eyes, no mouths, only dark hollows where features should be. They continued chanting, their voices echoing from empty skulls. Edric stumbled backward, his heart pounding, and the monks slowly turned toward him as one. He ran. Edric fled into the abbey's library, slamming the door behind him. Ancient scrolls lay scattered across tables, their pages brittle with age. Desperate for understanding, he lit a candle and began reading. One manuscript spoke of the plague's arrival and the monks' terror. Another described a forbidden ritual, a desperate attempt to trap the sickness itself within sound and metal. The monks had believed the plague was a demon, carried on breath and prayer. They melted silver and forged sacred bells, sealing their ritual within them. To bind it forever, one monk volunteered to remain alive, chained to the bell, feeding the ritual with his own breath and blood. A scream echoed above. The bell rang again, louder. Now, with each toll, shapes formed in the fog outside the windows. Men, women, children, their bodies twisted with sickness, their mouths open in silent cries. They pressed against the glass, whispering final prayers, begging to be remembered. Edric climbed the bell tower, his hands shaking as the ringing grew unbearable. At the top, he found him, a monk's skin stretched tight over bone, eyes still alive chained to the bell. His lips curved into a smile that was far too wide. "I have kept them safe," the monk whispered. "For generations," Edric shouted. "This is madness. Let them rest." The monk's smile faded. "If the bells stop," he said softly, "the plague walks free." The bell rope snapped. Silence fell over Blackmoor Abbey. At dawn, Edric stumbled back into the village, pale and shaking. The fog lifted. The abbey stood quiet for the first time in centuries. The villagers gathered, hopeful, relieved. Then someone coughed. By nightfall, the church bell in the village rang once, slow, heavy, familiar, high on the hill. Blackmoor Abbey answered with a single toll, and history began to repeat itself.